Hello, Oriole leaders. Welcome to week 3, lesson 3. We're going to be working on habit 2. But before we get to that, we want to take a look at what we've done so far. So let's review. So far, we've learned that leaders are empathetic and they're reflective. They're willing to help and serve others, knowing that others might not have it as good as them. Right? So they might need someone to stand up for them and help them out. They are buffaloes who are willing to charge into any challenge or storm or bad thing, right? They're not going to run away from it. They're going to take it head on. Leaders are proactive and they think upstream, meaning that they're trying to look at the root of the problem rather than just reacting to it. And those are some tough things to do, right? But if you keep working at these things little by little, it's going to pay off for you big time. Okay. So our next habit that we have is called habit number 2, and this is again from our book that we are going to be doing kind of our study with this entire year with. But habit 2 is begin with the end in mind. So before we begin with this, I want to read 2 paragraphs from Neil Strauss, who's a successful author, because he's got some really good things about this habit, and knowing that our end sometimes might change on how we get there and what it looks like. So he said, the best thing that ever happened to me was not getting accepted into journalism school. Because of that, I eventually ended up as a reporter and columnist at the New York Times. It allowed me to learn through experience rather than just academics, and to take a route following my passion instead of how it's supposed to be done. Because of that, I realized that the outcome is not the outcome. In other words, what we think of as endpoints to a goal are really just forks in the road that is endlessly forking. In the big picture of our lives, we really don't know whether a particular success or failure is actually helping or hurting us. So, the metric I now use to judge my efforts and goals is, did I do my best given who I was and what I knew at that particular time? And what can I learn from the outcome to make my best better next time? Note that criticism is not failure. If you're not being criticized, you're probably not doing anything exceptional. Those are some strong words there. So, a lot of looking at the end in mind is a lot about goal setting, right? Setting goals, because if you can set that goal, that's kind of like your end in mind. And as this graphic says, you want to set a goal sometimes so big that you can't achieve it until you grow into the person that you can, right? So a lot of people don't want to set goals where they're going to fail. And I think that's a mistake. I think you want to set a goal to try to do all you can to reach to it. And if you can't, then you kind of learn from that experience. And then maybe the next time around that you try to go for that goal and reach it, then it might work. And if it doesn't work, you keep trying again. And so here's some questions that can help guide you, right? What do you want in life? And my little thought on that is, you only get one. There are no practice lives given, right? Thinking about that really makes things like, whoa, kind of eye-opening. Like, I only get one life. I don't want to waste it. I want to make the best out of it that I can. How do you plan to get there? So if you make a goal of like what you want to do in your life, and this doesn't have to be like your careers, it could just be what you want to do in life now. But how do you plan to get there? Some people make a goal and they don't even ask themselves how, right? What do you need to do to get there? Can you time yourself with your goal? Meaning, can you ask yourself how long it will be before you reach that goal, right? If you don't have a time on your goal, then a lot of times you just never really know when you're done with the goal, right? And so it just kind of dwindles down and then it just doesn't happen. And then who's in the lead and in control in your life right now with your goal? Um, if you have a goal, you're in charge, right? You're controlling it. You make it happen. And if it's not going to be you, someone else will then do it. And when you start to get proactive with that stuff now, okay, this is huge. This is where you can start setting goals for yourself that help you. So here's just some examples that I thought of. I had my seventh graders write some goals that they wanted. And one of them was, I want to get good grades. Okay, and I think that's pretty broad. I think they could be a little more specific because I had a lot of questions about that. I asked, which classes do you want to get good grades with? What is a good grade to you? Some people might need an A, some people might need a B, some would be happy with a C. How are you going to get there? Are you going to study every night? Are you going to study every 2 nights? Are you going to ask the teachers when you need help, right? What are the things that you're going to do? What will you do to make that happen? How will you know if you made that goal? Right? So make a goal so that you know there's kind of that end in mind, right? So maybe they want to say by the quarter, I want to get A's and B's in my core classes, right? Now that's a little more specific. Okay, now there's a time to that. And now we know how long we have before that end is going to come. Okay, I had another kid that said, I want to play a sport in college. And so then again, I think this is pretty broad. My questions were, what are you willing to commit? Will you lift weights and improve your speed and endurance? Right? Are you going to be working out? Are you going to be doing that end of it? Or are you just kind of going to go through your normal pace of life? Because if you want to play a sport in college, you got to do a lot of extra. And what will you do extra? Right? When you're practicing with your team, you might have an hour and a half of a practice. What more are you going to do? Um, are you going to be reaching out to other people to help you, right? And then how will you balance everything out? Because it's such a commitment for sports now these days. But how are you going to do that in school and have your social life, your family life? How are you going to make all that happen? And then my last question is why? Why do you want to play a sport in college? Is it because you like the sport so much? Um, And if that's the case, maybe the fact is you don't want to play the sport, but you want to do a career with that sport. And for instance, like for me, yes, when I was little, I wanted to be in the NBA. Okay, but that didn't happen. Um, but I took the plan B's and C's and D's. I coach basketball, right? Um, I watch basketball. I'm connected to basketball in a lot of different ways other than playing it. Okay. So what that means is we're going to get some practice with this beginning with the end in mind, with the activity that you're going to have for today. Okay. And so here's the directions. It says, after watching this video about our new habit, begin with an end in mind. A lot of what is mentioned talks about goals, like we talked about. We want to see the end first before we take the steps to reach our ending. Sometimes the steps we take don't work out, but that's okay. We learn and we move on and we find another path to make toward our goal. So, your activity is to make a small goal for the next 2 weeks. In 2 weeks from today, what is something you want to accomplish? It could be about behavior with others, good deeds, writing gratitudes, right? Thanking people or picking people up. That's what a gratitude would be. Being grateful for them, thankful. Doing something extra, like we talked about earlier. Reading more, maybe. Drinking more water or being more healthy. Okay. I hope you're starting to see it could be anything that makes you better. That's the ultimate goal. It could be a little thing that makes you better. So ask yourself questions and list the steps that you'll take to reach that goal and make it happen. If we have a lot of small goals accomplished with a large group, like Oriole leaders, we will feel a big change happen. And that's kind of a cool feeling when you get all these people doing these little things. It starts to feel like a big change. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to write what your week 2 goal is. So that means on January 27th, hopefully from now until then, what is something you want to do to make yourself better? And then you're just going to fill these little guiding things out to help you get there, the steps and the questions. And then, key part here, don't hand this in until January 27th, because that's when I want you to reflect on your goal. Okay, and there's 3 questions. It says, how did everything go? How would you have done it differently? And was it easier, starting with the end first and then the steps secondly? Okay. So again, I don't want you to hand this in until 2 weeks from today. Then we'll take a look at it. The reason is I think goal setting is great, but I really, really want to know, how did it go for you? I want to see the goal, but I want to see how it ended for you, the results part of it. Okay. So have fun with it. Do something to better and improve yourself, right? It's a tough month right now in January with everything that we got going on. So let's do something for ourselves here. Let's make ourselves better. All right. Have a good rest of the day. Be good and do good. Go Orioles.